So you're about to buy your first guitar, but have you really thought it through? I'm David Harsh with Guitar Success for You, and I've helped dozens of my students figure out which guitar would be the best fit for them. Today, we're going to talk about 11 things to keep in mind when you buy your first guitar. My final tip will probably surprise you, so be sure and watch all the way through. Let's get started. Number 1, do some preliminary research. If this is an important purchase for you, do some good reconnaissance by reading reviews and, if possible, listening to audio samples of your guitar or a similar model. This will help you hone in on what you're looking for. Number 2, decide what you want this guitar to do for you. Will this be a hobby guitar that you occasionally play? Do you have goals of leading worship, writing songs, collaborating, or performing? Do you want to spend most of your time playing fingerstyle, strumming, or playing lead lines with a pick? These factors may influence the quality of instrument you buy. Similar to buying a car for a certain type of driving, like freeway driving versus off-roading, you'll want to think about what your hopes are for how you'll play. And maybe you don't know that yet, but it's worth thinking about. Number 3, start simple, but make sure the guitar is playable. If this is your first guitar, you're probably going to want to start simple with something less expensive and then upgrade as you get more serious. But you'll want a guitar that's playable, so don't go too cheap and get a guitar with bad intonation or high action, because you just might stop before you start. Bad intonation basically means that it's really hard to keep in tune, and high action means that it's hard to press down and make the notes sound. A guitar that's not enjoyable or easy to play can reduce morale very quickly. So buy an affordable guitar to start, but again, make sure it can be played fairly easily. Number 4, consider how much you'd be willing to pay. One of my favorite quotes is, "Quality is remembered long after cost is forgotten." So if you expect to pay like $200, you'll get what you pay for. A starter guitar that probably won't have an adjustable truss rod or very high quality materials or components. You'll have an instrument that you'll likely grow out of quickly, which is okay if that's your plan. Maybe you want to see if you're serious about practicing, and you'll reward yourself in 6 months or a year with a nicer guitar if you stay the course. But if this is your first guitar, you'll want to pay for some level of quality. I do recommend having a dollar amount in mind so you can stay under or close to it when you make this purchase. Number 5, invite a guitarist friend into the process. Note that I said guitarist friend because this person may notice things or be on the lookout for things you might not be thinking of. If you know someone who knows guitars as well as or better than you, they'll know which questions to ask. They can be an advocate for you, and they can also tell you if the price of a guitar reflects the quality. Number 6, play the guitar you're going to buy. I know that some folks will look at a photo online and click to purchase their guitar without first holding it. With a return policy, which we'll talk about in a moment, this is not a big deal. But if you're going to be spending a lot of time playing this instrument, once you've found what you're looking for, it might be good to just play it for a while and become familiar with how it feels and how it sounds before you buy it. Okay, we're halfway there. Are you getting some value from this video? If so, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We've got some great videos coming up that we don't want you to miss. Thanks for considering my invitation to do this. Number 7, keep your options open with a good return policy. You can buy a guitar at a store or online and even on eBay, but sometimes that can be an unnecessary risk, even if you save money up front. Make sure the seller has a good return policy, just to give yourself the option of returning the guitar if it doesn't meet your expectations. Good customer service at a place of business often coincides with a good return policy. Number 8, if possible, plug in the guitar. If your guitar has a pickup and you want your playing to be amplified at some point, try playing it through amplification that you yourself would be able to replicate, like a simple guitar amp. If it's an electric guitar, it will have to be amplified, of course, but make sure you like the way it sounds amplified, especially if you're going to be playing it on a church platform, on a stage, or even at an open mic. Amplification is an important part of playing for larger groups. Number 9, make sure you love the unamplified acoustic sound. If it's an acoustic, it needs to sound good unamplified because really, most of the time you're going to enjoy playing it at home or in your practice space without necessarily plugging it in. And if you break it out for a gathering of people, you may not need to plug it in. You may just play it unplugged. With this in mind, you'll want it to sound good. Depending on the body size and the woods, certain guitars sound richer and fuller than others. Number 10, take your time. Typically, a hasty decision doesn't lead to the best results. A guitar purchase is not a thing to be rushed. I spent the better part of an afternoon playing this guitar before I decided to buy it, and that was 25 years ago. I have no regrets. If you have the luxury of putting an instrument on hold and coming back a day or two later to see if you really want it, do it. If you're buying it from a private seller, he or she will likely give you that option. But whatever you do, don't rush it. Okay, you ready for my final tip? This is a bit subjective, but here it is. Number 11, make sure the guitar feels like home. I tend to be pretty calculated about things, but this particular tip is much less quantifiable. Go here with me. When you come home from a long trip, what does it feel like? Do you feel grateful? Are you able to let your guard down, relax, and to rest? Does home typically feel like a place you love to be, that you're not in a rush to leave if you don't have to? That, right there, that's the feeling I want for you when you play the guitar you're thinking of buying. Don't worry about the brand on the headstock. Don't listen to people who say you have to buy a certain type of guitar. Listen to what your heart says as you play that guitar. That's my final tip. Okay, so let me recap all 11 tips real quick for you. Number 1, do some preliminary research. Number 2, decide what you want this guitar to do for you. Number 3, start simple but make sure the guitar is playable. Number 4, consider how much you'd be willing to pay. Number 5, invite a guitarist friend into the process. Number 6, play the guitar you're going to buy. Number 7, keep your options open with a good return policy. Number 8, if possible, plug in the guitar. Number 9, make sure you love the unamplified acoustic sound. Number 10, take your time. And lastly, number 11, make sure the guitar feels like home. So now you've got 11 tips for what to think about when you buy your first guitar. I've got another video I'm thinking of doing with tips for buying your next guitar, but I need to know from you if you think you'd watch that. So please, leave a comment. As we're winding down, once you've taken the time and invested the money to purchase a guitar, you'll need to figure out how to practice that guitar so you can get the most out of it. Good news, we've got you covered with an epic retro-style practice routine video right here on the channel. If you appreciate the 1980s, you'll love the way I serve this up. I'll see you there.